Hello and welcome to Pods Like Us. I'm Martin Quibell, known to my friends as Marv, and this time I am joined by three friends who are also podcasters, one returning guest and two new to the show. And if they're new to my listeners, hopefully we're going to introduce you to their show and you'll become addicts of their show. So first up, the returning guest, Stu from Stu World Order. Hey Stu, how are you doing?
I am doing very well, Marv. How are you doing today in your fanciful Christmas sweater? I did not wear anything thematic. Yeah, you're ready. You're ready for the topic. I just have a gray t-shirt on. I feel extremely underdressed. I didn't know we were busting out the Christmas sweaters.
Doing the gray t-shirt as well here,
It
Also joining me from the long road home alone is Joey. Hey Joey, how are you doing?
Marv, thanks for having me. Nice to be here. I also get the Christmas in July vibes. We did a Christmas in July show. Our show is obviously Christmas oriented, so happy to be here to talk more about it. Never get sick of the topic.
Well, you can't do. You must watch Home Alone, I'm guessing, maybe a few times per year to get stuff from for the show.
It's funny you should mention that. I don't think I've watched Home Alone all the way through in years.
wow.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Just has a very committed memory. I don't know how you manage that.
I've seen it enough times. I think Jimmy would probably say the same.
Yeah, we've seen it a ton, and yeah, over the years, it just feels like we get to watch it in our own minds over and over again. There's no need to dedicate time to it.
And Joey introduced the other guest, Jimmy from the show as well. Hey Jimmy.
Jimmy Dantes, thank you so much for having us on, Marv.
Thanks very much, guys. So, what are you up to at the moment, Stu? How far ahead are you, and what you got to look forward to?
I am currently recorded and scheduled on the Stu World Order podcast up through February 2nd, which actually a lot of people were very envious of, but to me, it feels like I'm catching up. I need to do another batch of recording soon. I'm usually 4 to 5 months recorded in advance, but I have been on a break. I've been doing a lot of writing for the website, so I feel like I'm really coming up upon my limit here. And plus in January, I've got a ton of year-end lists to do and everything: best movies, worst movies, movies that I've just watched for the first time that didn't come out this year. So I'm going to have a very busy January, I think, between writing articles and recording my next batch of episodes for the show.
So, what films have we got to look forward to coming up on Stu World Order?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here. Let's see what we got coming out. The current episode is Dark Phoenix, the last of the X-Men movies that Fox produced, that were, X-Men team movies. And in the near future, the next episode coming out on December 12th is Blue Beetle. So we have the last of the X-Men movies, and then we have one of the last DCEU movies before they're rebooting everything with James Gunn.
Do we know what people are getting as their Christmas present?
Christmas present episode is I Kill Giants, a very underseen, based on an independent comic book. It is available on, I want to say, Netflix. I can give a little spoilers here. Something I had never seen before, something I'd never heard of before I was looking for movies based on comic books to add to the list for the show. Yeah. And I watched it for the first time. Very pleasant surprise of a movie. I was very, very happy with it. It's high up on my list of movies I watched for the first time this year.
That reminds me of the fact that this year I finally had on your show a bona fide good superhero-based film.
It happens sometimes. There are a few of them. Some people just have really bad luck drawing numbers for the show. But yeah, you had a good one. Tell everybody what that was. Give me your memories of it.
So that one was Spider-Man Homecoming, and really enjoyed that film. The two previous films to that were Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, and the bona fide film Jonah Hex.
Jonah Hex is definitely, of all the movies I've seen, Jonah Hex is one of them, right?
Yes. So Joey and Jimmy, what have you guys been up to, and what have you got coming up soon?
You want to say, Joey?
Sure, will do. This is our tit for tat. Jimmy and I we have a tendency to really talk over each other, yell at each other on the show. I'm sure you'll love it or you'll hate it.
Yeah.
It's a busy time of year. I work in media, and so I'm often out producing videos or television. Right now, I'm working on an installation for our local planetarium. They have a musical series during the winter time where they bring bands in, and so I'm doing some video art for the dome in the planetarium. So it's a nice time of year to sort of hunker down and work on some video art in the studio. And of course, we're working on production for our show. We know that our audience, wherever they are, they must be Home Alone fans. And of course, it's for us, we'll watch it in theory any time of year. I know that in the past, I've certainly seen it in every month of the year in my life. But in general, it's a holiday film. People start thinking about it around the holidays. So this is really our bread and butter time for the show. We're a seasonal show.
Yeah, so I'm thinking then, because Stu show Stu World Order, it's comic book related films, and he has a guest each time. But your show, I'm guessing, because the idea of the Long Road Home Alone is that you pick a different aspect to the film each episode and dive deep into it. I'm guessing that since it's a festive related film, do you suddenly get a big surge in downloads at this time of the year?
We don't really know yet, actually. It's a seasonal show. We did one season last year, which was 10 episodes. We're doing another 10 this holiday season, and this is the first time that we've really tried to push it out, using social media, trying to reach out to other people and let people know the show is there. We've got a backlog of episodes. So yeah, we did notice quite a big uptick as far as social media activity as soon as December hit, because Home Alone is just such a beloved film. There are a lot of people who not only do they think it's their favorite Christmas film, it's one of their favorite films of all time. And so yeah, when people start thinking about Home Alone, we're kind of hoping that's kind of when it's going to pick up. So yeah.
Cool. So, are you ready for the lead up to Christmas? Then, have you got everything ready for yourself and your films and all the gifts and what you're doing over Christmas sorted out?
All the presents figured out. We are just finished gift wrapping last night, actually. Going to a family gathering next week. And then on the same day, we are actually going to see Macaulay Culkin live in
Wow.
Detroit. I guess he's doing this tour where he screens Home Alone and then does a Q&A with some host. And they're going to ask him questions. So we're really looking forward to seeing Kevin live. That'll be the first time I've ever seen him live.
And for me, as a matter of fact, I've been thinking about this leading up to this, and I'm realizing I told you guys earlier in the show, I haven't watched Home Alone in years. It's simply because I've seen the movie 200 times. I know every line to it. I can watch it in my mind. But I don't believe I've ever seen it on the big screen. So This will be the first theatrical screening of Home Alone I've ever seen. We're looking forward to it.
I know a few years ago I was tempted to and never ended up going to. They had, and now and again they do still do it over here, in cinema performances of it with live orchestration as well, which would probably be a really cool experience.
I've been to one of those, actually. Our hometown has an orchestra, and you go there, they project the film, and the orchestra just plays along with it. It was a great experience. It's also just great seeing the movie live with an audience, especially during the last end of the movie when you're watching all of the traps, watching those traps and hearing people laugh with you. It's so great. It's such a good experience. So I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Well, hopefully one of these years you'll be able to actually do one of these events and be the people hosting it with Macaulay Culkin. Just like Stu on Stu World Order. He surprised me a couple of times where he's had some of the actual original writers of these comics or from the past on to look at the films and talk about the films, which has been cool. So the same for
Which
yourselves. That would be cool.
yeah. Which authors? By the way, I'm a big comic book fan actually. So yeah.
I have had J.M. DeMatteis, Spider-Man writer, Justice League
Oh,
writer. I've
oh
had Ron
wow.
Mars, and I've had Mark Waid.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
It depends how whenever I go to comic conventions, who's there and how ballsy I'm feeling about asking them. Because I've had the occasional person tell me no, they don't have time. I've had Babs Tarr tell me she didn't have time, and I had who I'm blanking on who the other guy is because it's a guy I really like, but it's I'm just blanking on his name right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I've had people tell me no, but I was really surprised. I went to Planet Comic Con in Kansas City, and the first day it wasn't particularly busy. So Mark Waid was just kind of sitting there with nothing to do. I was surprised, and I walked up to him and said, like, "Hey, I have a podcast. Come be on my podcast." And he was very excited about it. So that was
Oh
awesome because
man,
Mark Waid's one of my favorites ever.
I love
that's
Mark's
great.
work.
That sounds amazing.
And I mean, comic book wise, Rob Liefeld is always busy. Because if you remember, Stu, he was supposed to do the Spider-Man chat with us, and then he mentioned that last minute he found out that I think it was a graduation for one of his kids had been moved
Oh, okay.
forward to the day that we were doing the recording for the Spider-Man episode. Otherwise, he would have been on that. So, but there's a possibility. Get Liefeld on.
I'll see. I mean, you can always reach out to people. It never hurts. I have
Yeah.
to see what the next Comic Con I make it out to is.
Plus, he's a fellow podcaster, so he knows
That's
the
true.
world.
He understands the grind.
He does. Are there any sort of traditions that you're looking forward to doing, Stu?
You know what? We don't really have much in the way of traditions. We don't have kids, so it's pretty much just us and our cats don't let us put up a tree or anything because they would tear it right back down. We pretty much always, so I guess it is kind of a tradition. We go to my family's house for Christmas Eve, and they do the whole Italian, like 7 fishes or 5 fishes or however many fish dishes they cook. And then we go to my wife's family's house for Christmas Day because we have a 4-year-old niece. So we have to see her on Christmas Day and give her presents and everything. And she's very excited. She is really good with presents where she opens one present at a time and she plays with the present. We know other kids that they just tear through their presents as soon as they get everything and they don't really acknowledge or play with anything. But my niece is very good. She tears through like one present at a time. She plays with it. She's very thankful. My wife is texting me I'm a liar. I don't think that's true. She must hear me talking. I feel like she's very active with the presents. She pays attention to them. Oh, she says we don't put up a tree because I won't get it out. Well, that's also true. I'm also lazy. So that's possible. She's saying that's why we don't have a tree. I'm saying it's because the cats will tear it down.
It's because you're too busy trying to get up to 5 months ahead.
I am. It's very hard. I have a very fulfilling schedule that I have to get through.
I will say, me and my wife did put up a tree. We have 3 cats, and they have been just tearing the ornaments down.
Yes.
It was a total mistake. Haven't had one climb all the way to the top yet, but they're definitely batting at those ornaments as if they're toys.
Well, at least you haven't had a squirrel go in the tree like they did on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
No, yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
That's the other thing. My wife wouldn't let us get a real tree anyway. We have a little janky Christmas plastic tree that it's not fulfilling anyway. Why would I want to put that up? I don't want to put the effort up into putting up the janky plastic Christmas tree. If we got a real tree, maybe. I'd like to see what the cats would think of that.
Yeah.
But at least it's better than one of those back in the old days when they used to have used to make them of like they used to make them with asbestos, didn't they? I think somebody was saying back in the day.
Right.
Yes.
The fake
very,
snow.
Very safe.
Well, it doesn't burn, right?
It's true. That's the one thing it won't do. It'll kill you, but it won't catch on fire.
It kills you slow. It doesn't kill you quick.
Smoke inhalation? No. Cancer? Maybe. What about you, Joey? Any traditions you have?
Vanishingly few, Marv. I like Christmas. I'm fortunate that I live close enough to a lot of my extended family. So I like to see as much of my family as I can. But day of Christmas, those real, those cherished family traditions, we have virtually none. We like to spend time with each other and hopefully eat some good food. But that's about it. And I like it that way.
It's all about the food. When we get adults, anyway, kids, they like the presents.
Right.
So anyway, we're all here to speak about our 5 favorite Christmas films, which I've neglected to write out because I've done this 3 times already. But I'll still write. I'll come up with some titles anyway.
They haven't changed since then.
They might probably not. There's some films that I've liked since then.
Yeah.
So, what should we do? Should we do 5 each, or go 5, then 5, then 5? Yeah, probably. Yeah. So if we do,
do everybody's 5, then everybody's 4. That's awesome. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So these ought to be ordered. You
5.
say I have a top 5, but I'm going to need to order these top 5. So don't start with me.
What's your least favorite top 5?
Right. You put it that way. That's what. See, this is what's great about having a co-host. Jimmy really frames it for me. Tells me how to think about it. He knows how my mind works.
I do have mine ordered. My number 5 is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. One of the first Christmas films I ever saw. I do not like musicals at all, and I love the music in How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I love Boris Karloff's voice, and I don't know, just overall, I love the message that How the Grinch Stole Christmas gives too. That it's not just about presents. It's not just about all of the bells and whistles of Christmas. It's just about being together and enjoying something about that.
Okay, Stu.
My number 5 is also the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Nice.
Cued right into that one. No, it's probably the one on my list I've seen the most. I remember seeing it whenever I was a little kid. I like the animation in it. I really like the story of the Grinch and the comedy aspects that they throw in. That, it's stuff that's funny whenever you're a kid. It's stuff that's funny whenever you're an adult, and it has a really good Christmas story to it about the spirit of the holiday and everything. So yeah, mine same one as Jimmy there.
Okay, I'm going to pick one that I've just made this list up off the top of my head, and hopefully it's the same as the others. Otherwise, it will sound really weird. My number 5 is The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. I don't know why. There's just something about the first one that I like, and then they get gradually worse from then onwards when they do any sequels. The series was dreadful that they had on Disney Plus. Has anybody seen the series or any of it?
They made a series for the Santa Claus. Is Tim Allen in it?
Yes, he is.
I believe so. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure he is.
That's very unfortunate.
Wow. Yeah, because the first film was really, really good. It was sort of clever with an interesting twist of Santa falls off the and basically dies, and he has to take over the job of Santa Claus, and it's sort of interesting and funny. And it was back when Tim Allen was on the top of his game, which he's not now.
I love the Santa Claus. That was really close to being my number 5, but I went with Grinch Stole Christmas. I saw that movie in a single screen theater that my dad managed when I was, I don't know, 10 years old or whenever it came out, and it was a pretty memorable experience.
Well, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, that's an interesting one because of how many different versions we've got of it.
It's been a while since I've seen the Jim Carrey one. I do remember liking it when it came out, but I haven't seen it since I was really young. I haven't seen there's a new animated one out too, I think. And it's more like CG Toy Story type animation. And I haven't seen that.
Is that the one with
that one yet?
I've never seen the Jim Carrey one or the most modern one. I've only ever seen the original.
That's what you're on about, the both of you, right? Okay.
Yeah, the Jim Carrey one I think is directed by Ron Howard. Pretty good director, one of my favorite directors. I don't remember loving it. I mainly just because the first one, the animated one, does it for me. Boris Karloff does it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Jerry, what's your number 5?
My number 5, I've quickly ordered them here from my top 5. I'm terrible. I'm just terrible at ordered lists. So this could be arbitrary, but I'm gonna go with the 1938 Christmas Carol with
Ooh.
Reginald Owen
Okay.
as Scrooge. I love that Christmas Carol. It's very true to the original story. And I'm a fan of Dickens' A Christmas Carol and
Yeah.
all of its iterations. So that one makes the list right at the cutoff for me.
Cool. So many versions to choose from. We'll get one of mine is a version of Christmas Carol for later on. Okay, then while we're with you, then put you in the hot spot. You can have a go at number 4.
Okay, so my number 4, I think we'll go with Nightmare Before Christmas. A beautiful film. One of the few on my list that I did see in the cinema when it first came out. Love it. The music's terrific. The animation, the art, the humor, the grim nature of it. Excellent.
Danny Elfman, who normally does the score for Tim Burton films, he does the singing voice for Jack Skellington. I think they have a different actor doing just the lines when he's delivering them, but it's Danny Elfman singing. You don't often get to hear Danny Elfman sing either. He's largely known for just composing scores.
I didn't know that. That's a great piece of trivia.
Yeah, Prince
Oh,
Humperdinck
yeah.
himself, Chris Sarandon, does the speaking voice.
He does. Oh, nice. I love him in Fright Night. That is one of my favorite Halloween films. I
Yeah,
love him as
he's
a
one of the
villain in that
best
movie. Yeah.
movie vampires you're ever going to see in that movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Talking Halloween, that means next year we know exactly what we're all coming back to talk about next year. But yeah, so that means then that you haven't seen the footage of. There's some lovely footage if you look online, and you could see the three of them there's three of them that do the voices, because one of them is the chap who plays Pee Wee Herman. I've forgotten off the top of my head.
Paul Rubens.
Paul
He
Rubens,
just passed recently. Yeah.
who passed recently, and then you got Catherine Hara, who's one of the characters as well. And I saw
That's right.
online where the three of them got back together, and they actually did one of the songs that they do as the three. They did it live in front of an audience together, which was so cool.
Oh, man, that's really cool. Yeah.
That's neat.
But also neat that they got to do it before Paul had passed away as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. So my number 4 is It's a Wonderful Life with James Stewart. It's a good message. It's almost a variation of the Scrooge story in a sense, in a way. It's all but a skewed way of doing it. But because it's still an angel sort of explaining to you how things could have been in a sense. But I just like I like Jimmy Stewart as the everyman, and I think the story tells a good moral to it. But I will be honest, when I first saw it, I wasn't as much of a fan of it as I am now. It had to sort of like build on me, because it can be a bit of a dark film if you think about it in some ways.
That was one of my mom's favorite films. She would play it when we were growing up, and I just remember seeing like black and white movie. I don't need to see that. I don't care about this. This isn't for me. I saw it again as an adult, and I definitely had a different opinion of it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's one of those movies I probably need to watch again because I haven't seen it since I was a kid. Same thing, it played a lot whenever I was young, and I
Yeah.
never probably appreciated it. And I remember the weirdest things about it. Like the thing, if you say It's a Wonderful Life to me, the thing I remember is, oh, the guy falls in the water and loses his hearing. I don't remember the rest of the movie, but I remember that scene for some reason. Like that's the key bit of that movie for some reason to me.
Yeah.
What's your number 4 then, Jimmy?
My number 4 is The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes.
This is my favorite rendition of the Christmas Carol story, which I love. I also really love Scrooged, and I really love the Patrick Stewart Christmas Carol. But there's something about The Muppet Christmas Carol and Michael Caine as Scrooge that just does it for me. I love that Gonzo plays Charles Dickens, and I love his back and forth with Rizzo the Rat the entire movie. It's just one of my favorites. Again, also not a big fan of musicals. I really like the music in this one.
It's the Muppets. They're bound to be great songs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, that's why the Muppets have been going for all these years. Classic, fantastic. Stu,
Yep.
what's your number 4?
I tend to like some off the wall picks. So whenever I was making my list, I have a bunch of honorable mentions and I stuck most of these to what you think of when you think of Christmas movies. But I went with one off the wall pick, and it's the most recent movie to make my list. It came out, I want to say 2 years ago, and it is the David Harbour Christmas action movie, Violent Night. I've watched this.
Still haven't seen that one.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's good. I've seen it 2 or 3 times, so I figured by this point it has to make the list. And it's David Harbour does such an excellent job in it. And you know what we never talk about when we talk about Christmas movies is which one has the best kill. And there is a great kill in A Violent Night where he finally takes out John Leguizamo's character. It's very entertaining, but it gets, again, the spirit of the holiday right. It has a good message in it, and it has the story of this family that he's helping out and the daughter in the family and whether she believes in Santa or the holiday spirit. It's very well done, so I really enjoyed it, and I figured for having seen it 2 or 3 times since it came out, it's got to make the list.
Does he get to say Merry Christmas, you filthy animal?
I don't think he does that. No.
I haven't seen that film either. I have heard that it's a hilariously funny film and it's worth watching.
It's very good.
Looks like Joey has seen it though, because he was nodding in appreciation.
I actually haven't seen it, but my sister told me all about it. She just loved it.
We
I
get
just like
together
the
with
answer.
our best friends. Oh, go ahead.
I just like that sort of answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
We get together with our best friends for the last couple years, and we have a Christmas night where we drink hot cocoa and watch a movie. And last year was Violent Night. That was our Christmas movie we chose. So that was the second time I had seen it.
So what would be your number 3 then, Stu?
My number 3, Joey and Jimmy should like this. It is, of course, Home Alone. Very big classic that I've seen several times in my life. Macaulay Culkin is just a supernova of charisma in this movie. He just captures your attention, and it's one of the greatest child performances in a movie that's ever been made, ever, for any child anywhere. It's so funny, and Catherine O'Hara does a fantastic job. We're talking about her again after Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's so good. It's so good. It has so many great elements, and it has this kid and the wet bandits and the neighbor with the shovel that he ends up meeting. And again, and you always get me with the spirit of Christmas, where he finds this older man that he thinks is scary, but he ends up finding out he's just a lonely man who has been abandoned by his family, and he talks him into reuniting with his family. And there's so many great elements that you don't need me to talk about. We've got 2 experts here that can tell you everything you want to know about Home Alone. But just from what I remember, from what I like about it, that's everything that really connects with me.
That's great enthusiasm, Stu. That's exactly. We love to hear that. We love to hear someone other than ourselves talk about the greatness of this film.
Oh, it's so classic. I remember seeing it in the theater and watching it several times across my life since then.
Let's see what number it ends up with everybody else. So, Joey, what's your number 3?
My number 3, I'm going with, and this perhaps this won't surprise you. 1, because I like sort of the non-traditional answer. 2, because I myself don't have so many Christmas traditions. I'm willing to be a little offbeat with it, but I have got to say, In Bruges. It's not
okay.
It's not a classic Christmas film, but it takes place during the holidays, doesn't it? I believe it's wintry, Christmassy.
What's funny about that is that's one of my favorite films, but it's not one of my favorite Christmas films. I don't know. I don't know how that worked out.
Well, I might be stretching it a little bit. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
a traditional Christmas film or if people think of it that way, but I think that it has some themes in it that resonate with me during the holiday season. We see uh, there are themes of forgiveness and sort of non-familial love and caring for your fellow man. And it's also really hilarious and vulgar.
All things that all adults need at Christmas.
Amen.
So, Jimmy, what's your number three?
My number three is It's a Wonderful Life. I actually didn't come to this film until just last year.
Oh,
Actually, and it's one of my favorites. I love the message that he gives, the speech that George Bailey gives to Potter after his father has died. Where he's talking about, my father may not have been a good businessman, but he pulled a few people out of your slums, Mr. Potter, and some people might think that's worth something. The man just seems so earnest. He is just so driven to help others to the point where he brings himself to a state of misery. He's just so disappointed with where his life has ended up, and he can't even remember what he's done for everyone. And I love that scene at the end where you just get he's come back to his house, he's accepted he's going to be arrested for having misplaced $8,000, and he doesn't care because it's the spirit of Christmas and he's happy with what he's done to help others. And yeah, the door opens and all of the neighbors, everybody from the film is just pouring cash out onto this table. We heard George Bailey was in trouble and we want to help him out. And that's what Christmas is about to me, is just like trying to be a part of a community, trying to like help others and yeah, goodwill towards your fellow men.
absolutely. The only thing that narks me about that film is that Potter doesn't get his comeuppance.
I know. I was really hoping for like a Nakatomi Plaza drop Potter off of the roof or something. It just doesn't happen.
I keep thinking about getting the. Have you seen the advent calendar you get where Hans? I mean, we're going to Die Hard here. You've just mentioned that, but it dropped from there. But you can buy a
Yeah.
advent thing where Hans falls down further each day, doesn't he? Each of the days towards Christmas, which is brilliant.
That's so funny. I want to get one of those. I've seen this on Twitter quite a bit. Those Christmas ornaments where you've got McLean in the air shaft, and you just see his face about being like a turkey dinner on Thanksgiving or whatever, turkey dinner on Christmas.
If any one of us mentions Die Hard as one of our top five, we just want to make sure that Bruce Willis doesn't see this video because he will complain because he says that it isn't.
Well, what does he know about it?
He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say
you put
anything
art-
now, does he?
Right. You put art out in the world and it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the
That's true.
audience. I mean, that's my belief. If he
Yeah.
thinks it's not a Christmas film, so what? He's one guy. There
Yeah.
are millions of people who disagree.
He doesn't have to watch it at Christmas.
Exactly.
Other people want to.
Yep. Famously, John Lennon said to somebody in a clip I've seen where they were talking about one of his songs or something, and he said, "The song is whatever you want it to be for you." He's sort of basically saying, "I write it, and it means one thing to me, but when it goes out to the people, it's theirs." That's what art is.
Yeah.
So my number three, I've already hinted at it, is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Just because I think it's a fun romp of a film. It's hilarious. It's probably Chevy Chase at his best, I would have thought. And I think the cast are perfect in it as well. Everybody in it is perfect. And it's got some great gags in it. And the version with the language is funnier for it, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know there was
Right.
such a version.
Yeah, you can get a version with the F word in it. And
Oh,
but
okay.
you can also get versions without that word in it, and it's not quite as funny when they've sanitized it.
Is it originally a PG rated film, or I guess I don't know if that's
Originally,
PG.
it
Well,
was higher.
that's oh,
It
okay.
was higher because it's got the F bomb in there.
Oh
I
boy.
think twice in the
Yeah.
proper version. Yeah, yeah, it's hilarious. Stick with this then. So my number two, staying on the comedy, and I've done this one before, and I know Sean from Review It Yourself and Bill are going to absolutely hate this because it's Elf. Because it's Elf, and they hate the film Elf. I just think it's Will Ferrell at his best.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious. You've got a great cast in there, James Caan. You've got Peter Dinklage as the angry elf writer, and yeah, I think it's just brilliant. And Zoe Deschanel, her voice is fantastic in the songs, and she looks amazing in the film as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I buy that Sean hates this movie. It seems weird that Bill would.
Yeah, it does me as well because it's got
Bill's so positive,
yeah.
and this is such a positive movie. It seems like it'd be right up his alley.
Look, luckily, Bill's not going to have a go at me for this, but because Bill's too nice to have a go at response to this. But Bill sort of reminds me of the elf character that Will plays because he's so positive, like that character is.
I've
So,
only seen it once. I remember loving the stop motion animation sequence. So the fact that
yes.
they included those in there, it's a pretty good reference to some of the best Christmas movies from the 70s. Yeah.
Well, we've got the DVD of it, and I know that John Favreau was saying that he had talks with the people from Rankin Bass about it because it's very based on that sort of Rankin Bass that you had back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what's your number two then, Jimmy?
I got to bring up Die Hard, I guess. I'm the first one to do it. Die Hard is my second favorite Christmas film. I do consider it a Christmas film. I only watch it around Christmas. Yeah, I love it. It's a great action film, takes place during the season. I don't know if it captures the spirit of Christmas in the way that It's a Wonderful Life does, but I don't really care. It feels very festive to me.
Well, they're in a Christmas party. There's all people got together to have fun together, work people. And it's just unfortunate that a group of people wanting to blow the place up and rob it with guns and weapons just happen to get involved as well.
Yeah.
All the music
Also,
is Christmas music too, which I think is a big check mark in the it is a Christmas movie standings.
the ending credits are what it's the most wonderful time of the year, I think, or
Okay, I've
is that
forgotten,
right?
but yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a Christmas song, but I don't know. Feels very Christmassy to me. He's out in LA to visit his family during Christmas. There are just constant Christmas jokes throughout the film. Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Okay, Joey, what's your number two?
My number two is a terrific movie. I'm a big fan of it. I've seen it a million times. It's a family classic. Came out in 1990, directed by Chris Columbus. It's called Home Alone. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it.
I've
Terrific
seen that
movie.
one. Talk
We've all
about it
seen that
sometime.
one numerous times.
It ranks really high up there for me. It's a great movie. I think Stu nailed a lot of what's great about it. It's got some fantastic dialogue. It's got a terrific score by John Williams, and it's got some hilarious gags. The list goes on and on. Really, I just love it.
And it's got a great film within a film.
It does. Angels with Filthy Souls. I also love a great film within a film, and it is perhaps one of the best. I think maybe Jimmy and I have we talked about that on the show before, the film within a film
You have?
concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angels with Filthy
Thanks for
Souls.
remembering, Marv.
Wasn't that episode 2?
It
I
was.
believe you're right.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for remembering.
Quite a
I do want to
throwback.
point out Do want to point out as well, Home Alone has Kevin watching How the Grinch Stole Christmas and the McAllisters watching It's a Wonderful Life in Paris. So not only do I get to see one of my favorite films while watching it, I get to see pieces of other films that I love while watching it.
And sometimes with a foreign dub.
Mm-hmm.
Who have I not done number 2 of yet? Would it be you, Stu, and then me?
Yes,
Number
yes,
2. Okay.
correct.
So you next then, Stu.
My number 2, we talked a little bit about the Dickensian movies and variations on A Christmas Carol, so I'll get into the first of 2 of mine that finish up my list. I have 2 iterations of A Christmas Carol that are my top 2, and the first one is the Bill Murray-led Scrooged. Bill Murray is a comedic genius, and this movie is hilarious, and the transformation his character overtakes as the movie goes on is so fluid and natural, and it just works. And the way he plays off of these Christmas spirits that come and visit him and his Bill Murray trademark sarcasm, it's so funny. It's a wonderful movie. I really enjoy it. Apparently, and this is something I just found out like within the last 2 weeks, he had a nightmare of a time making it. Like, he was hard to work with and he did not enjoy making this movie. But he was really struggling, I guess, with his stardom in the late 80s, early 90s. And whenever he finally came around and started filming this, it didn't go the way he wanted it to. But, the final product is phenomenal. So I'm glad he stuck with it and gave us this movie.
So it reminds me of him with Groundhog Day, and had a lot of trouble with that one as well, didn't he?
Yes, that's true.
Oh, yeah, the other one too, Groundhog Day and What About Bob? I hear he was a nightmare to work with on What About Bob as well. It sounded like it was a really dark time in his life, and I think he came out of it because Wes Anderson's been working with him for years, and he has nothing but good things to say about Bill Murray. I think maybe he was just, I don't know, really grumpy for a few years, and hopefully he pulled out of it.
Do you think it's because he'd got into a certain almost stereotype at that point, and he wanted to come out of that in a way?
It could have been. I know he was going through a divorce at the time, and I think that had something to do with it. It was a pretty messy divorce, and he was just in a bad mood all the time because of it. He also seemed like he was far enough in his career that maybe that ego he was demanding a little too much of his coworkers or something. But I get the sense that he isn't quite that way anymore, at least. So,
right. So, I hate to put you on the spot here. Then, since you've mentioned it, what's your number 1 then, Stu?
My number 1, my favorite Christmas movie of all time. You already mentioned it way back on the list, but I have to come back to it. It's The Muppets Christmas Carol. Everything is better with The Muppets. You throw the Muppets on anything, and it's a vast improvement. You could remake any movie that we've said to this point with Muppets in it, and it would be better somehow. I just love the Muppets. I love Gonzo as Charles Dickens. I love the way Michael Caine brings so much gravitas to this role, and he treats everything, despite the fact that he's working with Muppets, like it's the most serious thing, and it deserves the absolute best effort that he can put into a movie. And it's so emotional at the end. It really tugs at your heartstrings. It has great sentimentality. It's something I actually just watched for the first time, like within the last 3 or 4 years, and since then, it's been my favorite Christmas movie ever. It blew everything else out of the water.
I actually didn't like it when I was younger.
Okay.
And I became an adult, and for some reason decided I loved it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already mentioned, it's the Muppets and just everything, there's so much great stuff from the Muppets. And I've even got a version of A Christmas Carol that's Sesame Street based that I love as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was unfamiliar with that.
Yeah, they've done a couple of Christmas specials, but then again, I think the Muppets have done more than one Christmas-related film as well, as far as I can remember.
Who was Ebenezer in the Sesame Street one? Was it Oscar the Grouch?
Yeah, of course. Of course. What's your number 1 then, Jimmy?
Number 1 is going to be Home Alone. This is a film that I actually can watch endlessly. I have seen it I have watched it a few times this Christmas season actually. But it's one that just lives in my head constantly. I don't need to watch it to know the lines. Uh, me and Joey are just constantly quoting that film back and forth to each other, even when it's not Christmas time, which was kind of, I don't know, a little bit the inspiration for the show. We figured, well, you obsess over this film long enough, even when it's not Christmas time, and yeah, I don't know, I really love it. It never gets old. The gags are hilarious. I love the slapstick humor at the end, all of the traps. The When Daniel Stern slams his feet into those ornaments, that scream he gives while he's doing it, oh man, it cracks me up every time. It's just never not funny, and I can watch it over and over again and never get tired of it.
Well, those bits are like live action Tom and Jerry, essentially.
They really are. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Wet Bandits are just cartoon characters, gluttons for punishment. At a certain point, you go through so much trying to break into this house. I don't know. Let's just cut our losses and get out of here.
It really is a cartoon level obsession, too.
Yes. Yeah.
It works because of the performance that Culkin gives, which is it's an unbelievable performance from a kid. That's a very almost adult performance in the way that he's got the character down to a T.
It's incredible.
I don't know how a kid develops that much charm in that short amount of time, but there are other actors on set who are just saying this guy's a wizard. Like how he manages to pull this together. Even Chris Columbus, he auditioned hundreds. He didn't want to cast Macaulay Culkin because John Hughes had used him in Uncle Buck, and he largely just didn't want to pick a kid because he was in another John Hughes film. But all these kids went through the auditions, and time after time, Macaulay Culkin was just sticking in his head. There's no one that topped him and that could charm audiences the way that he did.
Well, that you said with Uncle Buck, I mean, I see that as a 1-2 punch for Culkin because I think he was incredible in that one as well. I actually think
He was.
I think they're his two best films.
For sure. Yeah. I love him in Uncle Buck. The shtick that him and John Candy have at the breakfast table.
Yeah. Oh, with the
Yeah.
questions. Yeah.
I can't remember all of the questions, but like Macaulay Culkin just delivers the line in the perfect way. And a kid being able to deliver lines that are that funny with that, like humor doesn't come easy to kids, especially the kind of humor that is going to appeal to adults. And he nails it every time.
Absolutely. What's your number one then, Joey?
My number one on the coattails of Stu, I'm going with Muppet Christmas Carol. It's my favorite Christmas movie. It even beats out Home Alone. And the caveat is, like I say, it's famously tough for me to make ordered lists. Maybe I'm just trying to be a little subversive, but I really do love Muppet Christmas Carol. I love I also it's just peppered with all these subtle little jokes, and they're doing what the Muppets are always excellent at is tossing the adults some chuckles that the kids don't understand. And it doesn't matter. I love Statler and Waldorf playing Jacob and Robert, Bob Marley.
That's clever, that is. Right. That would have been probably my number 6 if I'd have gone anywhere. But my number one is the very British film Scrooge with Albert Finney and Alec Guinness. I love Alec Guinness as Marley in there. I think Alec Guinness is one of the great actors. I love all the songs in there. I love the choreography on there with the singing and dancing, especially at the end when there's a sequence at the end, and at one point there must be 50 to 60 people there, which thinking nowadays you'd use CG nowadays, but back then you couldn't. So you've got all these extras who are perfectly choreographed to do all these moves in this enormous sequence, and there's just something so magical about that. In essence, seeing that and seeing real filmmaking of that sort of quality in a film like that. But so that's my number one, is that one. I don't know if anyone else knows the Albert Finney version from 1970.
I don't, but
I
I'm going to
sure
make a
do.
point to watch it. Watch it this
Yeah.
Christmas. Hearing Albert Finney and Alec Guinness against each other in A Christmas Carol. Yeah, that sounds like great to me.
It's good. It's a lovely film. I don't think I've seen all of the Christmas carols, but I've seen 17 or 18 of them, which, when you get to the TV movies and the episodes of the episode specials and whatever, it's way more than that, but it really is. It's been done perhaps more than any other tale. I know we're a small sample size here, but I find it revealing and insightful that 3 out of the 4 of us are saying that our number one favorite Christmas film is an iteration on A Christmas Carol, on Dickens' classic story. I mean, we think so much about, when we think about Christmas iconography, there's Santa in the Western world, especially in our entertainment, seems to take up so much of that space. But I think it's telling that the staying power of the Dickens tale and the lessons really ring true this holiday season.
I think what it has is it's got that sort of like feeling of hope, and that there's a redemption there, and it's sort of like, I think that's what pulls people into the story of Scrooge, essentially, is that there is that chance of being able to change and better yourself in a way.
I
Agreed.
think, I think that also ties into How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I mean, the Grinch is very much an Ebenezer Scrooge type of character, and I think that's a Christmas theme: is people being given their heart and being given their concern for their own community. That's what I think Christmas is about. And in The Grinch Stole Christmas, I just love too that, like, the Grinch wins. He stole the entire town's Christmas, and he goes up to his mountain and he's gloating over it, and then he hears, oh, it didn't upset them, and he's not bothered by that. That's what changes him. He's like, there's something about this that I was missing, and then what? His heart grows 10 times, 10 times too big. It's the same thing with Ebenezer Scrooge. Like, I don't know, there's something about the spirit of Christmas and changing people for the better. I feel like it's a pretty good message.
It's a lovely message.
Yeah, I think the character of Ebenezer Scrooge is just such an iconic character, and it's so well written, and it's something that you can look for in today's society. It's something you can hope that you see more of in today's society. This idea of passion for your fellow man overcoming greed. It's just a good idea, and it's such a marvelously come up with character.
Absolutely.
Here.
Thank you for speaking with me today, guys. This was great.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Thanks for having us, Marv.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Thank you, guys. Right, so Stu, where can people find you and get hold of you?
Sure. So I am on pretty much every social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. Everything is at SWO Productions. The website is swoproductions.com, where we have new articles every single weekday. And the podcast, again, is the Stu World Order podcast, where we review randomly drawn comic book movies with our guests.
Okay. And Joey/Jimmy?
We are on Twitter and Instagram, pretty active on Twitter, and we got a little bit on Instagram. And then if you're interested in listening to our show, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, and YouTube. The Long Road Home Alone.
Like, you can find Pods Like Us on all streaming platforms. We're available through podslikeus@gmail.com. And we are also on Instagram, Facebook, X, which I still call Twitter, really. Blue
I just
Sky,
called it Twitter too, didn't I?
and Threads, and who cares? It's Twitter.
It's Twitter. It'll always be
X
Twitter.
is a stupid name.
I agree.
But until next time, thank you everyone for listening, and hope you listen again to another episode of Pods Like Us.